Welcome again for another episode of the podcast Mission Regeneration. Today we have the wonderful presence of Professor Paulo Magalhães, who is a legal expert and researcher at the Legalist Research Center at University of Porto in Portugal, and also a PhD in human ecology from the Faculty of Social and Human Sciences within the University New of Lisbon. He is also Director General of the Common Home for Humanity, and also advisor to the National Council for Environmental and Sustainable Development in Portugal. Thank you, Professor, for your
Thank you.
present
Thank you so much
availability.
for your invitation. It is a pleasure.
It is a
to be
pleasure
here.
also to receive you and to talk with you. Today, we will dive deeper in a specific topic that is the common home of humanity, an association that has a long work and prestigious work of promoting important legal concept of environmental protection that will be dive deeper in this conversation. My first question to you is who are you? Apart from this presentation that I did just now, can you tell us a little bit about your um, path as a citizen and also a professional that led to the development of the Association Common Home of Humanity?
Yes. Firstly, I was since very young an activist that started to work with the NGOs. I participate on the founder of some of the main NGOs in Portugal in the environment. It was a long pathway, starting by being a naturalist and more specific as an ornithologist. I started as a photographer. My first activity was to be photographer of nature. I worked almost 20 years on this. And this pathway to work on the field, to participate on as activist on the environmental causes. I was studying law at the same time, and in the end, I understand that I usually say we need to have both things. We need to have theory and practice, and this we have a problem if we only make theory without practice. Is the same problem? It's not the same, but it is a problem to make theory without practice, and to make practice without theory. It's another problem. So I try to put in place the both one and start to study again after I finished my course. And after, when I was not expecting, I started giving lessons of environmental law, firstly, and after I really became a researcher, because we need to find a solution for the overlap between the functional aspect of planet with a static concept of sovereignty. We need really to conciliate these two realities. One is a natural reality, that is something we cannot change. It is how the planet works. Another thing is a human concept, that is sovereignty. And they are very different one from the other. The question is that in this moment, from a legal point of view, we only see the territory. From a legal standpoint, the planet is a territory with 510,000 kilometers square, and the system itself is not recognized from a legal standpoint because it's intangible, is a software, and for the law, and more than for the law, for the sovereignty concept, they do not accept to have a software inside, a common software that is inside and outside of the sovereignties. We can reject this. We can say, I do not accept. The reality is inside and outside of the sovereignties, and does not matter if you accept or not. And if you accept or not, you will have consequences for your acts to the system, and you also receive the consequences from the acts of others outside your sovereignty.
In this case, I'm remembering, for example, the occurrences of transborder pollution or transborder environmental catastrophes that usually happen. They go beyond borders, right? They go beyond. They don't care for this kind of fictional territorial division. That's what you are explaining, right?
Yeah, it is more than transborder. Is global. Okay, the pollution there are kind of have some more direct effect on my neighbor, but it will have always a global impact because it will be accumulate on the climate system.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a reality that the concept until today, the concept of sovereignty that born on Westphalia Treaty is not able to explain. There is no capacity to describe and to measure this reality. I think that we can go to make any agreements on Paris, on whatever. Mm-hmm. We need to solve this problem to have any chance to have results. So, and here you have the concept of common home of humanity. Mm-hmm. Is to say that our common home is not a planet. What we say is this planet, during the history of the planet, they have many different operating modes of the system. The only operating mode of the system that supports the civilization, the human civilization, was after the last glaciation, what the scientists call the Holocene period. Mm-hmm. That you have a composition in the atmosphere that give rise to a well-defined thermodynamics. Mm-hmm. That give rise to a stable climate. So our common home is not the territory. The territory, the planet itself, the physical planet, can have many different ways of working, of the operating modes. Our common home is a well-functioning system. How energy and matter circulate around the planet that give rise to a stable climate.
Mm-hmm. That's where the proposal of the Common Home of Humanity Association comes up. That is
comes up to say our planet or our home is a stable climate.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little more about the origin, when it was created, this initiative?
The concept.
Not the concept, but the legal figure of the association Common Home for All Humanity, when it was created, and also if you can share about some of the initiatives that were created within this group of persons involved in this concept also.
We start with a book that I write in 2007 about the Earth condominium. Okay, mm-hmm. The condominium is the legal figure where you can have in the same place the common systems and the private fractions of your apartment. So we have overlap of two legal regimes in the same place. So one is common, mm-hmm. Another is private.
Exactly.
So this is amazing in terms of concept to have the possibility to have two different legal regimes in the same place, and one symbiosis between the common and the private. And I can only use my private fraction if the common system is working well. If the common system is not working, I cannot have the total fruition of my private space. Mm-hmm. So there is a big interdependence between these two, and it was solved by the law by saying this system, these are common, and after make a functional division what are the functions that are is vital for the use, like security, like water, like energy, like the stairs. These are common, and define these things as these elements as common property. And after they make the division of the space. Very, very important. First, to define the functions. Second, to define the spaces. The result is you have an overlap between private and common property, and you have a symbiosis because you cannot use your private fraction if it's not working. The planet is the same. Is the same. To use the powers of sovereignty over your territory, you must have a well-functioning Earth system that is common. You cannot divide it. Why you cannot divide it? Because it's intangible. Okay, it's something that is the software that is inside and outside. Your sovereignty is always circulating around the planet, and you must represent this software in the law. So this was the big discussion. It was almost a discussion of 15 years between jurists, the earth system scientists, philosophers, physics. It was a big discussion during 50 years. It was a big discussion with Professor Will Stephen, that was one of the founders of Common Home of Humanity. And after he understood the idea of the condominium, he said, this is the solution to harmonize the private, to keep the concept of state nations with the global and indivisible earth system. Okay, to have a legal framework for this. So we start work on this. The first step was to define the character and to measure what is a stable climate, what are the conditions that give rise to the stable climate, with the planet boundaries that Will Stephen bring to the project. We can measure the conditions, the indicators that correspond to a well-functioning system that arise after the Holocene. So we can measure now the safe operating space, and after we have to define the character of this good. It is a software, but the character is not territorial. Why is it intangible? Because we are not talking about matter. We are talking about how the matter and energy circulate around the planet. So it's a way of circulation, is a pattern of circulation that corresponds to a stable climate, so it's intangible. So if we recognize this intangible way of function of the planet as a common good, a global common, we can have what I have explained in the condominium. Earth, a common earth system that operates over all the sovereignties without threatening the concept of sovereignties, because it's a different concept, it's a non-territorial concept, and is, of course, global. So this is the history, more or less, the history of the project.
And how about the traction? Because I know that there has been a push, a proposal of this concept within the UN, the United Nations, also to present it to some countries. For example, I know that Portugal was a proposer of and supporter of this concept for some time now. Can you talk talk with us a little more about this proposal presentation of this concept of climate as a common good for humanity, and how is being accepted or not at the global level of the legal institutions?
This is one concept that is very new to be understood and to be explained. Okay, during all these years, we have been improving the explanation of this, and we are in this process. So the main thing that we have achieved is to include the goal of recognizing climate as a common heritage in the Portuguese climate law. So we achieved this. Now we are
That's a environmental framework law, right? climate
Yeah,
framework law.
yeah, but it's a goal.
Mhm.
Of course, to Portugal cannot decide
Of
or
course, yes.
declare
Mhm.
climate as a common heritage. Must be declared in the General Assembly of United Nations. So the goal of the Portuguese is in diplomacy, to
Mhm.
have this goal in diplomacy. So we are preparing this communication to explain this concept. What is very interesting is that this concept is already in many laws or steps that were already done in several laws.
Mm.
One of them is the Rio Convention of 1992, where you have a legal definition of the climate system. Okay, it's very simple. It's amazing the way how they define the climate system, because a climate system is a complex thing, but when you explain in a simple way a complex system, you are you have done a great solution. So they
It's a
define the
good starting
climate
point,
systems.
yes.
Yeah, they define that the the climate system as the sum of the hydrosphere, biosphere, atmosphere, and geosphere, and the relations between them. And the amazing is you define the elements, and when you say the relations between them, you are talking about the functional aspect of the planet. You are
Mhm.
saying that this planet is not only a territory, you have a functional aspect of the planet that does not exist for the law until now. But it's already there on the Rio Convention. And what is amazing uh, is that we have already the system itself defined from a legal point of view. The problem is that because the Convention of Rio do not define the legal status for the climate system.
Mm.
They define the elements, what is the climate, but do not say this system belongs to all humanity or belongs. The only solution is to belongs to all humanity, because it do not belongs to no one. It continues to be a res nullius. In law, you know that is something that belongs to
No one.
nobody.
Mhm.
Oh, no one. Okay? If belongs to no one, you can make damage. If you make a damage on something that belongs to no one, you are not making
Responsible.
damage.
Yeah. No
In
consequences, right?
okay,
Exactly.
in the same way, if you make one benefit in something that belongs to no one, you have no right to be compensated. And it is res nullius. It is, a dump. What some legal experts say about the seas and the atmosphere, they say they are the dumps of humanity because they belong to no one. They are res nullius. It's different to be res nullius. Is different to be a global common. Global common means that belongs to everyone. Okay, that is res communis. The problem is that today the climate system is res nullius.
Mhm.
And we want to change the status of
And
the climate system. But also, what is interesting, in the definition of the Commission of 1992, you not talk about territory, you talk about elements, and you don't care if the elements of the climate system are inside or outside the sovereignty. When you say hydrosphere, you are talking about all the seas, the waters that are inside the sovereignty and outside. So it's a scientific concept that has also a legal recognition. Okay? The question is to belong to someone. And to belong is not the territory, is the quality, is the system itself. One thing is the area of space of Portugal or any country, okay? Another thing is the chemical composition of the atmosphere. Another thing is the circulation, the atmospheric circulation. So if you make a distinction between the system intangible, and the space of sovereignty, you have two different concepts that can be conciliated. And something that was very important was in the report of 2021 of the International
IPCC?
The Commission of International Law of United Nations say what I have said. One thing is atmosphere, another thing is the atmospheric circulation, the biochemical composition of the atmosphere. Two different concepts that must be distinguished.
Mm-hmm.
One can have borders, another one cannot have borders. So it's possible to conciliate both because one are tangible, another is intangible. So it's possible to conciliate like a condominium.
So why at this point we don't have this recognition? What are the barriers for the implementation?
Mental barriers. The only barrier, that's
Okay.
it. To understand this, to understand the complexity of the things that are not only. The question people are afraid, if they accept climate as a common heritage, they are afraid that they will lose sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
It's not true. They will lose sovereignty if the climate system is not working well, because the waters will, the sea waters will rise, and they cannot make a law saying, I do not allow that in my country, that the sea will not rise. Mm-hmm. Okay? They will receive droughts and flows and whatever, and they cannot do a law saying, I do not accept climate change, or I do not accept more droughts, or you cannot do it. Mm-hmm. You have no sovereignty over this. No one have sovereignty over this. So the only way, the biophysical conditions of sovereignties are common. Mm-hmm. And if they are not working, you have no sovereignty over nothing. The peoples of your territory will suffer. And you can do very, very few. So the only way to use your apartment is to contribute for the common, mm-hmm. To maintain the common system working. And we must do the same thing in our planet in a global scale.
So it's an avoidable question, right? It's a question of someone who realizes that it's important, it's unavoidable, and decides to go for it. So my following that recognition. Can you tell us a little more about the next steps? I know that Rio it's coming up also, the next convention that will be happening also in Brazil. What are the next steps for this proposal? If there is a good future expected for this recognition or not?
We are in this moment working in papers to be published in Brazil, to be published in. We have already, of course, some of them, but yeah, this is what we're trying to do, is to have a group of countries to start the process. It's not easy because you have, the mental barriers, mm-hmm. that I have talked, that are the most difficult to overcome, and to understand the interdependence between these. To exercise sovereignty, you need to have a well-functioning earth system. And for so, you have to recognize at least that the system exists inside, outside your sovereignty. And if you don't care about the system, you will lose sovereignty. Mm-hmm. So this is very many steps away, many steps ahead. And we are in this process trying to
influence the next
influence the process. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Brazil can be the COP30 can be a very good chance. Let's see if we get there. We are working on this, mm-hmm. preparing videos, preparing papers, conference in Brazil that will take place in May. This is what it is. we are working, we are doing our work. Let me say something that is very important in this difference. That should be on the tables in the next COPs. What is happening now? We are reaching a point where we are starting to have new technologies to capture CO2. European Union make some kind of regulation about the CO2 removals, and for me, the main problem is for what we are using to technologies. Of course, we must decide what are the positive technologies and the negative. The negative, what I'm saying, technologies that can cause more side effects, bad side effects than positive effects. So we have to have a regulation about the technologies, okay? I will not discuss this because it's not our expertise, okay? We have no knowledge to decide what are the good ones and the bad ones. But the question that we are making is, for what? To give rise to more rights to pollute, to make emissions, or to start to clean what is behind? The question, because what is behind the climate system belongs to no one, the stock is already above the limits of security.
You mean the emission stock, the pollution that was accumulated over the years?
Yeah. One big difference between the Convention of 1992 and Paris Agreement. Paris Agreement wants to control the global emissions, and Rio 1992. The goal is to control the total concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere. That is totally different. This means that if we have a legal framework for the system, for the climate system, if it belongs to no one, if it belongs to all humanity, we can start to make negative emissions, to cleaning what is behind, to cleaning what is already in excess in the atmosphere, because it belongs to someone, and we can start to make accountancy between us.
So what you are saying,
make accountancy about historical emissions, and this will change the climate negotiation.
So what you are saying, as far as I understood, is that the question that you are presenting is using carbon removal technologies not as a way to mitigate the pollution that is being done today from ahead, but using these technologies to restore or regenerate what is behind us in terms of its historical emissions.
What is happening now is the technologies are not solving the problem, are increasing the problem. What is happening in the US and in other places in the world is, I have a coal plant, for example, that 2 years or 3 years, the plan is to close. Now we will not close because we have a machine to capture the CO2, so it can continue to work. So the technologies are being used to continue to make emissions, to make pollution, to perpetuate this type of economy, and not solving the problem of what is behind. The question is, we have to use technologies because the natural capacity of capture CO2 in nature in this moment is 2 gigatons. 2 gigatons. And we put 40 gigatons per year in the atmosphere. This means that we have to decrease emissions. The capacity of nature to remove CO2 only for the maintenance of the system. This means that if we triple the capacity to put the emissions between 5 and 7 gigatons of per year, okay, and nature capturing, and you must remove what is in excess in the atmosphere using technologies. A question is, we have to decide which are the technologies and for what. And for what? This is the question.
My last question is the follow-up of this conversation that we are having now is, trying to situate, if it's possible, of course, trying to situate the possible impact and the future impact of this legal concept within the day-to-day life of a common citizen. What will be the impact, the changes, the benefits or not of this legal recognition of the climate as a common good?
Uh, I think let me explain to say something before this,
Of
and
course.
after I will go there.
Mhm.
Any human activity needs a legal framework. The activity of cleaning the atmosphere needs a legal framework, needs that the atmosphere and the climate system belongs to someone that is not a res nullius. And after, you will have, if you can do this, you will have several cascade effects on this. Okay? If you are making damage, you are making damage to something that belongs to all humanity. If you are making positive things, preserving nature, capturing CO2, whatever, you are making positive effects in something that belongs to no one. So you have the right to be recompensed for the benefits that you are providing to all humanity. This will change our relationship. See, this will have consequences, economic consequences for all the economies, of course. Another day, I was making a question of a PhD about climate refugees. Of course, the problem is always the same. Who puts the CO2 in the atmosphere? Who are responsible for these people that are losing the lands, that must move from the land where they live to another place because they have no environmental conditions to live there? This is cascading effects. The question is possible to make this without a legal framework or not? What the banks and the financial system is saying is, if you do not do nothing, the loss will be very higher than if you achieve Paris Agreement goals. This is the reports from Swiss banks, from the consultations from, they are all saying the same, that the losses, the damage will be very high than if you start to control emissions and to start to clean the atmosphere. So this is also a tipping point in terms of economics. You need to clean the atmosphere to restore the climate system, to continue to have one economy, to continue to exercise sovereignty.
And to exist in a certain way.
And
as
to
a
do
human,
this,
and as an animal, yes.
And to do this, you need a legal framework, of course. Cannot be done over nothing, over a res nullius. This is the question. Okay, and we will have consequences, of course. A cascade, many. I cannot. I think I cannot predict all the facts. The question that we can have for certain is it possible to do this without legal framework? To restore something that belongs to no one. This is impossible.
Okay. That's clear. That's evidently
That's clear.
And as far as understood, it's not one thing that one country can do, can push alone, or a group of countries. It needs to be taken as a whole within the United Nations legal system to work, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, well, I think we approached all the topics that are related to this legal concept. I thank you very much for this time.
It was a pleasure
For this
Sergio.
presentation. I hope that we will hear from this concept and from this presentation, and the success of recognition. We hope in the next COP in Brazil. But I think we can follow also the activity of the Common Home for Humanity in the social network and the website that is online. And there is, and I question if there is any kind of involvement that if for example, I want to help or be involved in this work as a citizen, as an activist, as a professional within the works of the Common Home of Humanity, is there any way to be involved?
You can be a member. You can go to the site and become a member of Common Home of Humanity. After, you can participate in our General Assembly that will take place this year, next weekend. And after, we can start to work together. It's a question to start to build a team. We have already a team, always must be enlarged, and to continue this task.
So it's not a question of citizenship. For example, a citizen from the Americas or from Africa can be involved, right?
Of course,
Yes.
it's amazing.
Just to clarify, I know.
We have members in more than 40 countries in this moment.
Wow.
We are waiting for people that come from many countries for our General Assembly, and others participating online, but people asking for a visa to enter in the country to go to the General Assembly. So it is really an international association based here in Portugal, but we really have members around all the planet. It's incredible. Incredible.
Wow, incredible indeed. Well, thank you, Professor, again for your availability and for the great explanation and deep dive into what is really unavoidable in the next future that we need to take action in order
It is unavoidable, not because I want that it is because we are leading with the laws of physics. We cannot overcome the laws of physics. This is why it is unavoidable. We are fighting against the laws of
nature.
Physics.
Yeah,
this is the problem. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Day. Thank you for the conversation.
Thank you.